The startup money should have arrived last week. Check your email. I blinked. The words hit harder than the champagne in my hand. The backyard was glowing with fairy lights and fake smiles. The engagement party for my younger sister Caitlin was in full swing. Laughter, clinking glasses, a string quartet playing in the corner. It was everything I'd expected except this. I turned to look at Uncle Brad. His face wasn't joking. He'd always had that sharp investor calm, like he could smell a lie or a bad deal a mile away. I did check. Nothing came, I said, my voice steady, though my heart hammered in my ears. Uncle Brad frowned. That's strange. I transferred it through my office account. Same one we used for the business plan documents. You're sure? I nodded once. If it was there, I'd know. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I saw it then, the first ripple. A woman by the catering table stopped mid-laugh. A cousin paused, drink hovering near his mouth. The atmosphere shifted like someone had cracked glass beneath their heel. My parents, Darlene and Hank, had been mid-con conversation with Caitlin's future in-laws. They suddenly turned. Mom's smile dropped. Dad cleared his throat. We should step inside, he muttered quickly, grabbing my mom's arm. No need to make a scene, Uncle Brad said, voice calm but loaded. The air was sharp. I could feel it cut across the space between us all. Caitlin, dressed in a glittering silver dress that caught every flicker of light, stepped closer. What's going on? She asked. What startup? I didn't answer her. My eyes were still locked on our parents as they disappeared through the sliding glass doors like they were escaping a crime scene. Uncle Brad finally turned to me. Quiet enough so only I could hear. I sent 200 grand to get your business started, last week. Darlene said you'd been too distracted to notice. Distracted? I let out a low breath and laughed, but it wasn't joyful. It was dry. It was bitter. There's no email, I said again. There's no deposit. There's no transfer confirmation, just silence, like always. He stared at me. I knew then this wasn't just a casual miscommunication. This wasn't about a glitch in the system. This was something deeper. What the hell did they do? He muttered. I shook my head slowly. You're the one who just lit the fuse, Uncle Brad. I think we're about to find out. People were whispering. Caitlin looked between us, her smile faltering. Is this about money? I didn't answer her because suddenly every single guest was looking in the same direction toward the house. And the only thing louder than the quartet now was the silence. The silence didn't last long. Caitlin's fiancé, Logan, a well-polished finance bro from Connecticut with the world's most symmetrical jawline, stepped forward, clearly uncomfortable. Do we, need a moment? Maybe we should give you guys privacy. No, Uncle Brad said firmly. I think we should all hear this. My throat was tight, but my spine had never felt straighter. I didn't plan for this confrontation, but I wasn't going to let it slide either. Not this time. Caitlin blinked. Hear what, exactly? Uncle Brad looked at me again, giving me a silent nudge to speak. And in that moment, I felt something shift inside me. That tired, defeated silence I'd been carrying around like an anchor. I dropped it. You want to know why I haven't launched my business yet? I said aloud, stepping forward so everyone could hear, because I've been stuck waiting for money that never showed. That was promised. That was sent. I started shifting. Whispers gained momentum. I saw Caitlin's future mother-in-law exchange a sharp glance with her husband. And still, the quartet kept playing like they were soundtracking a slow-motion implosion. Uncle Brad took his phone out. Let's not make assumptions. I'll check the confirmation. He tapped, swiped, tapped again. Then he froze. I have the receipt, he said, holding the phone up. It says it was opened last Thursday, delivered to the same family email address we've always used. My stomach dropped. Family email address? Your mom's? The same one she told me to use because you were restructuring your inbox after that phone hack thing. My jaw clenched. I never said that. I never told her to divert my business communications. That's not my email, I said. That's hers. Uncle Brad looked up at me sharply. And in the audience behind us, the murmur became a wave. That's fraud, someone whispered. Caitlin's face twisted. Wait, are you saying Mom intercepted? I'm saying. I cut in. That 200 grand was never meant to be hidden, that someone I trusted, someone we all trusted, chose to keep it from me. The glass doors opened again. My parents returned. My mother's lipstick looked freshly reapplied. My father's shirt was tucked tighter. They tried to compose themselves, but they didn't walk back out. They crawled emotionally under the weight of everyone's eyes. "Is there a problem?" Mom asked, her voice crisp, overly sweet. Uncle Brad didn't waste a second. "Did you or did you not receive the money I sent for Avery's business?" My mom blinked. "What money?" Uncle Brad raised his phone. "Don't lie to me, Darlene. The email was opened. The funds were withdrawn. It came from my business account." For the first time in a long time, I saw fear on her face. Dad tried to intervene. "Look, this isn't the place." "Yes," Uncle Brad said. "It is." I stared at them. "You told me to be patient, that success takes time, that maybe I wasn't ready yet, and all this time you had the money." My mom's lips trembled. "We only wanted what was best for you." I laughed again bitterly. "You mean for Caitlin?" Caitlin flinched. "What? I didn't know anything about this." I turned toward her. "When she needed an apartment in New York, they co-signed. When she wanted to take 6 months off to find herself, they paid. But when I showed them a business plan that took me a year to build, a model backed by a former Fortune 500 consultant, I nodded toward Uncle Brad. They told me I needed to stop dreaming." "Because it was risky," Dad shot back, voice rising. "You don't build a life on some fantasy app." "It wasn't a fantasy," I said quietly. "It was mine, and it was funded. But you made sure I never saw it." Someone gasped. Logan stepped forward again. "Look, I don't want to get in the middle of this family thing, but you're already in the middle." Uncle Brad interrupted. "Your fiancé's parents rerouted 200 grand men for their own daughter, and you're about to join that family." Caitlin's face had turned a shade paler than her dress. She looked at Mom, then Dad, then back at me. "I didn't know," she said, voice shaking. "Avery, I swear." "I believe you," I said honestly. "You've always been clueless, Caitlin, and that's not your fault. They raised you in a glass bubble, but I was raised in the same house. I just wasn't given the same glass." A beat passed. 2 guests quietly slipped out the side gate. Uncle Brad folded his arms. "I want that money returned immediately." Dad's jaw tightened. "We don't have it." And just like that, the truth cracked open wide. More whispers. Someone pulled out their phone. Another guest turned to leave. Caitlin staggered back a step, looking like she'd been gut-punched. "You spent it," Uncle Brad said slowly, as if confirming his worst fear. "You stole from your daughter and spent it. We invested." Mom snapped, defensive now. "We thought it would be safer to hold on to it. She's unstable sometimes." I took a step forward. "No, I was just inconvenient to your plan. Enough!" Dad roared suddenly. "This isn't the time." "No," I said, eyes locking on him. "It's the perfect time." The string quartet finally stopped playing. Maybe they sensed the disaster unraveling in real time, or maybe someone told them. Either way, the silence left behind was deafening. I turned to the rest of the party. People weren't whispering anymore. They were watching. Some were texting. A few had their cameras out. Discreet, but not discreet enough. "This isn't a misunderstanding," I said clearly. "This is theft and manipulation and control dressed up as love." My father's chest rose. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I stared at him. "You kept $200,000 from me." Uncle Brad's voice cut in deep and furious. "Money I gave specifically for her, not for your debts or your projects or whatever nonsense you gambled it on." Mom looked down at the grass. "We didn't gamble it." Caitlin stepped forward now, her voice brittle. "So what did you do with it?" Dad's face twitched. We used it to pay the down payment on your lake house." Caitlin recoiled. "What? You were getting engaged?" Mom said quickly. "We wanted to give you something beautiful, something permanent." "You always said you loved the lake. I didn't ask for that." Caitlin's voice cracked. "You stole from Avery to give me a gift I didn't even know I was getting." Someone actually gasped out loud, and it hit me then. This wasn't just about money, it was about worth. About how I was always the one expected to sacrifice, to settle, to smile while being left out. "I built something," I said, my voice shaking from nothing. "I worked 2 jobs. I skipped weekends, holidays, birthdays. I did everything myself. I didn't ask for handouts. I asked for help. And you made me feel wrong for doing that." Mom wiped under her eye as if that would erase it all. You don't understand. No, you don't understand, Uncle Brad snapped. You asked me to believe in her. You said you couldn't support her financially, but that I should. And then you took the money behind her back. Dad rubbed his temples. It was for the family, for Caitlin's future. Then what about mine? I asked. He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time in my life, I saw regret crack through his arrogance. You are always strong, he muttered. We thought you didn't need it. Strong doesn't mean invincible, I replied, and you don't get to punish me for surviving without you. There was a long pause. No one moved. Even the breeze had stopped. Then Caitlin stepped forward again, but this time she stood next to me. She reached into her bag, pulled out the small silver key she always carried on her chain, and dropped it into our father's hand. What are you doing? He asked, startled. I don't want the house, she said. Not if it was built on this. Kate, no. She cut in. You raised us to believe in fairness, in doing the right thing, but you didn't do that. And you don't get to hide behind me anymore. My mother looked horrified. My dad looked old, smaller somehow, and the guests, they were already moving away from them. Uncle Brad stepped forward. If the money isn't returned in 72 hours, I'll involve legal counsel and you'll be investigated for fraud. My father's voice was hollow. We don't have it anymore. Then sell the house, I said coldly, just like you sold my future. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. You're not like this, my mother whispered. You used to be kind. I am kind, I said. That's why I didn't do this a long time ago. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my apartment window, watching city lights flicker like they were trying to keep secrets, too. Caitlin texted me twice. The second message was a voice note, a quiet apology. She didn't know, and I believed her, but trust wasn't something that came back overnight, not after this. Uncle Brad called the next morning. He'd already frozen the transfer chain. He was furious, but oddly calm, like a man preparing for war in a tailored suit. You'll get the money back, he promised, one way or another. And when you do, I want to introduce you to someone. I think your idea has more potential than you realize. I stared at my laptop, the mock-up for my app glowing softly. You still believe in it? I asked. I didn't just invest in an idea, Avery. I invested in you. And now I see exactly why. 3 days later, the silence from my parents was louder than ever. No call, no apology, no payment. The lake house was put on the market that morning. Uncle Brad made it clear they had 1 week to return the full amount or he'd pursue criminal charges. I didn't fight him on that. I didn't need to. For once in my life, justice was in motion and I wasn't the one begging for it. That same evening, I stood in a sleek office downtown overlooking the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling glass. Uncle Brad had kept his word. He didn't just return the money, he doubled it. Call it reparation, he said as he handed me the check and a contact card. This guy's a VC out of Austin. Tech forward, social impact focused. He'll want a demo. Be ready. My hands trembled slightly as I took the papers. Not because of nerves, but because for the first time in years I felt seen. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet, he replied. Show them. Build it. The next month was chaos. I barely slept. I worked 16-hour days surviving on protein bars, iced coffee, and stubborn fire. I refined the user interface, redesigned the onboarding flow, took every bit of feedback from my mentors seriously, even when it hurt. And it did hurt because I'd spent so long proving my worth to people who never truly saw me that I had to teach myself how to function when someone finally did. Caitlin visited my apartment unannounced one night, holding takeout in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. I still don't know how to fix this, she said, standing in my doorway. But I know you haven't eaten real food in 4 days, so let me try. We sat on my old thrift store couch eating sesame noodles and garlic chicken. Neither of us said much at first. Then she whispered, Did you ever feel like they loved me more? I didn't answer right away. I don't think it was about love, I said. It was about control. You were easier to mold. I wasn't. Her eyes welled up. I would have given the house back in a heartbeat if I'd known. I know. I cut in softly. But that's not what hurts. What hurts is that they knew and they still chose you again. She nodded quietly, absorbing it. Then she pulled something from her purse. It was an old photo of us sitting on the swings in our backyard, me pushing her, both of us laughing. I don't want this to be our story, she whispered. I don't either. By the second month my platform was ready, I named it Climb, a networking and mentorship tool for women breaking into male-dominated industries. Not just another job board or resource list. It was mentorship meets real-time feedback meets peer-led upskilling. And when I presented the live beta to the VC from Austin, he sat back, smiled, and said, "We've been waiting for something like this." Funding closed in 10 days. Meanwhile, my parents' house was now for sale, too. The financial unraveling had begun. Quiet, humiliating, irreversible. I hadn't spoken to them since the engagement party, and I didn't plan to. Not until I was ready. Not until they understood that forgiveness wasn't a birthright. It was earned. 2 weeks later, I got an invitation. Caitlin's wedding had been postponed, but she wanted me to attend the new date. She was planning it herself now. No help from mom or dad. "I'm building something too," she told me. Maybe not a tech platform, but a new life. One that doesn't start with lies. She asked me to stand beside her, not as maid of honor, as her only family. I didn't say yes right away. I needed time, not to punish her, but to be sure I was healing on my terms, not out of guilt. But the gesture meant something. Launch day came. I stood in a conference room packed with reporters, investors, and future users. When I walked up to the mic, I could feel it all rushing back. The betrayal, the bitterness, the nights alone at my desk with nothing but caffeine and cold ambition. But I smiled because I wasn't standing there for them anymore. I was standing there for every girl who'd ever been told she was too much, too risky, too loud, too emotional, or too late. I was standing there for the version of me who almost quit. And when I said, "Welcome to Climb, we rise together," I meant it. 3 weeks after Climb launched, it went viral. Not because of some gimmick, not because we poured millions into marketing, it spread because it worked. Because for once, there was a space where ambitious women didn't have to tone themselves down to be seen, where stories like mine weren't exceptions, they were starting points. I was invited to speak on 2 podcasts, then a morning show. Fast Company requested a feature. Forbes called it the quiet disruptor in women's tech. People wanted to know where it came from. I didn't hide the truth. I told them I'd been denied what was mine. That my own family once believed I didn't deserve a future built on my own terms. That betrayal can either break you or forge you into something stronger. The truth didn't hurt anymore. It healed. The day my parents showed up unannounced in my office, I didn't panic. I saw them through the glass wall, standing awkwardly in the reception area, unsure whether to knock or flee. I let them wait 5 minutes before I stepped out. Dad looked smaller. Mom's face was tight with restrained emotion. "We'd saw the Forbes article," she said first. "You looked very professional." "Thanks," I said flatly. Dad cleared his throat. "We wanted to say we're sorry." "Too late," I replied, "but say it anyway." He looked me in the eye. For once, there was no condescension. Just something almost unfamiliar. Humility. "We thought we were helping you by controlling the outcome, but the truth is we were protecting our own fears. You deserved better." "I know," I said. Mom stepped forward. "We lost a lot, but we know now what it cost you, and we want to rebuild, slowly, if you'll let us." I looked at them, the people who once believed strength meant silence, and that sacrifice was something daughters gave without question. They weren't villains, just scared people who'd mistaken control for love. "I'm not ready for dinner or holidays," I said, "but I'm willing to let you in a seat back in my life." They both nodded, and then they left, not with a hug or a dramatic scene, just a quiet, understanding silence. That was enough. Caitlin's wedding came that summer, simple, honest, nothing performative. She walked down the aisle barefoot, holding Logan's hand with a small smile that said she'd finally found her own version of freedom. I stood beside her, not as a bridesmaid, as her witness. The sister who forgave, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. 6 months later, Climb crossed 1 million users. I celebrated quietly. No big party, just a walk through Central Park alone with my thoughts and a cup of hot cider warming my hands. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from a girl in Kansas. I used Climb to get a mentor in biotech. I'm now in a job I never thought I'd land. Thank you for building something that saw me when no one else did. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I smiled because I remembered. The version of me who sat at my sister's engagement party holding a champagne glass and swallowing another invisible betrayal. She had no idea what was coming. She had no idea she would become this. Not rich, not famous, but